Um, how long, girl? I was trying to think.
I was like 2015, 2016, 2017 last we talked. Like on video or anything. Yeah. I think it's been,
That's that's bad. Oh, we got to do better.
we got to do better.
No, we got to do better. And it's so funny because I um had a chat with and I recorded a chat with Kim. We all supposed to be going to Jamaica and none of
Right,
us
right, right.
got there.
That we haven't got there yet.
No, no. And she was so funny. She said, yeah, my daughter keeps saying, well, when are they coming? She said, it's all going to happen when it's the right time. I said, yes, because every time I try to get it together, it just never works. It was a hurricane. It was,
Right. It was like
yeah,
a storm. It was this,
yes,
that. It was
yes.
everything under the sun every time we get ready to go.
So we'll have to. She said, well, we definitely have to do that. She was so funny because I told her, I said, well, Michelle was supposed to come, because the three of us were going to come
Right,
together.
right. That didn't work out.
No, that didn't work out. Here we are entering 2021, which is just, I
And
can't believe it, honestly.
I totally can't.
It's crazy. So tell me what you've been up to. I pushed record, but of course I'll edit as necessary.
Okay.
I don't know if you had a chance to see any of the other chats. It's just very low key, whatever. I'm going to edit this part out, but if we could start maybe with, telling people who you are, what you do, what you've been doing, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay. So my name is Jessica Bonds, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. Reiki, yes,
Woohoo!
right. So right. Reiki practitioner. I'm working on my Reiki master certification, but because of the pandemic, we've kind of had to halt the actual attunement because it needs to be face to face. So I'm also a sound therapist and a hypnosis therapist.
Oh, I
So
didn't know about the hypnosis
yes,
therapy.
hypnosis also.
Cool.
Right. So a lot of I have an office here in New York in the Bronx, and I work in Westchester. And well, due to the pandemic, I've been more able to sort of branch out and do different places.
Uh huh.
Um, I do individual counseling, individual groups. I mean, individual counseling. I also work with groups. I do corporate events. And I do a lot of sound baths and facilitating meditation and what have you. Um, a lot of my focus is on meditation and
Mm-hmm.
sort of connecting with that inner youth and going back and healing and repairing wounds in that area and trauma and what have you. So that's what I do.
Wow. So that's a lot. Gee, we could have hours of discussion on each one of those,
I
quite
know.
frankly. I know. Really, it's always interesting to me how we I know a lot of people. I was going to say we in the helping professions, but I don't want to like make it so generalized. But I have met so many yogis who are in helping professions,
Right.
and sort of this link between yoga and the other branches of yoga, which of course meditation, because the physical asana really is really to bring you to meditation, which a lot of people don't necessarily pay
Right.
attention to. I think a lot of people do, and those folks may not even be on Instagram. Instagram largely seems to have a very large focus on the asana practice and not the other branches, so to
Right.
speak.
I think
Um, so, how did you come to do what you're doing in terms of like the sound baths? I really want to talk about that, and the meditation piece. How did you come to do that? What sort
so.
of led you there?
Well, after I graduated and I had been working for a few years, I found that meditation helped, like even in my own practice.
Mm-hmm.
It helped. So I started learning a lot more about that and incorporating that into my sessions. To the point that in about 2014, I'd been wanting to do hypnosis because for me, that was a further escalation of the meditation. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I really wanted to do. But as a social worker, you're not making like a whole lot of money.
No, we
So
don't.
and all of these programs were like thousands upon thousands of dollars to take. So I'd been searching and searching and searching, and then finally I found this one that was going to be on the weekends, what have you. And that one training was the catalyst for all of this, because
Ah,
um, my hypnosis instructor he also is a shaman.
ah,
So, and he had worked with a lot of different shamans, a lot of he'd been practicing music. He's a musician,
mm-hmm.
self-taught, and he had been practicing for all of his life. So during one of the meditations, he introduced journeying with the drum.
Ah.
So during that process, sorry, my cat's walking around.
That's okay. Hi, Kitty.
um, During that process, it was almost like this this awakening happened.
Hmm.
So it was during that process, during that drumming, I was like, oh my gosh. Now he had us doing going to journey and meet our spirit animal. I didn't meet my spirit animal, but I found that I was so in such a deep state of meditation that this is what I wanted. And so from
Ah.
then I took he recommended a tuning fork training with John Balu. So I took that, and at that training, it was like a weekend workshop. At that training, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I received so much because he had a workshop, a part of it that was part of you receiving. And so it was during that
Ah.
process, I was like, I want people to feel like this. I really want
Right.
to have everyone feel like this. I started working with Peter Blum, who is the hypnosis trainer, and I acquired my own, my first bowls, and then I just continued to escalate. And then I went to one of his sound baths, and oh my goodness, it was so amazing. It took me to places I didn't know existed. And so it was from then I was like, I want to do this. I really want to incorporate this into my sessions. And at that point, I had been doing a lot of meditation and incorporating that into my sessions. Once I learned the hypnosis, I, also did that as well. So, and then the sound came. Um,
Ah.
and so I found that all of these lead to a healthy practice.
Mm.
All of them have been extremely helpful in helping me. And during that process, I also did some healing. I
Mm-hmm.
also did some mellowing and relaxing and getting in touch with the subconscious and working on childhood issues. And so it was as I was healing, I was wanting to help everybody else heal as well.
Mm. It
So that
is interesting. Again, that connection. They say we sort of follow the path that helps us heal in one way or another,
right,
professionally. Or I'm always saying that to social work students that I have is somewhere in there you working on your own stuff, whether you believe it or not.
whether it's on the surface or not, you are
Yes,
working on
you
your own stuff.
you are, and I believe that the more tools that you have to offer in that process for ourselves and for others is incredibly important, because not all roads lead to Rome, not all modalities work for, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
So when you and if you can educate those folks that this is just another tool, because people have their own sort of maybe myopic view of what could be most helpful for them,
right,
based on the status quo. Like we sit and we chat, and that's supposed to be therapy. Well, we don't really have to. I could just give you a marker and a piece of paper, and we do
right.
that, and and that's working better for you. So I don't do any direct clinical work. I haven't done it in quite a while. It's much more distant than the clinical stuff. Um, with the teaching and all that and consulting. But I wish I had all of those tools when I was doing a much more clinical work. Um, Often I think about doing it again, but hey, first of all, we're not that fluent in Spanish.
That
so
does
so
help.
so that's not going to work here. um I've thought about, and I have dabbled in sort of the distance thing, but I just, from a clinical standpoint, I find it just so hard.
It is difficult. I mean, we've adjusted, but it is difficult. It really is,
Yeah,
especially if you don't have an established connection with someone.
exactly,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. If you do, it's another story.
right.
If you don't, it's like, how do building the rapport. But at any rate, um when you think about the, well, how about we go back to sort of the sound baths, because I this is just a personal interest of mine, and I think a lot of people would
Hmm.
be very interested in how it works.
Okay.
um and yeah, how it works. That's probably the best way to put it.
Okay. So the basic well, the basic goal of the sound bath is to put you into a meditative state, and to sort of pull the subconscious to the forefront, so
Hmm.
that we are able to help realize change, help bring about creativity, help relieve stress, anxiety, depression, all of these things that we may not recognize that we're holding on to. Because a lot of the times we hold those emotions in the physical body.
Hmm.
You also notice that you may have aches, pains, all of these things going on that also are related to your emotional being.
Hmm.
And so, with the sound therapy, the goal is to entrain you, help you to get to that meditative state through sleep, wake, theta state, so that you're down at that level where your subconscious comes to the front. And oftentimes, because it's so powerful, it gets to the crux of your problems pretty quickly. Where sometimes
Mm.
I will spend hours with someone in a session, or months and months in talk therapy. Sometimes that sound goes straight to the problem. And what helps with having a clinical background is that you can also deal with the emotions that arise,
Right, right,
and all of the stuff that comes up as we've uncovered a layer of issues that have been laying dormant. But the
right,
sound bath, the purpose is to help you, because our body's made up of mostly water, 70% of
right.
water. And if you notice how water responds to vibration, water
Mm.
responds, if you've seen those experiments, you're like, wow, that's beautiful. So sometimes people have also physical reactions during the sound bath, because the simple fact that you are responding to the vibration. So I have many different instruments that I use, the singing bowls, the crystal, the metal singing bowls, um, the gong, the tuning forks, the tinctures, the drums,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, the rain stick, ocean drum. There's so many different
Oh.
things. Yeah, there's so many different things that sort of put you in that very deep state of relaxation again, so that and that we're able to speak to the subconscious. And sometimes I'll add in chanting, sometimes I'll add in vocalization, sometimes I'll also add in affirmations in
Mm-hmm.
in the sound bath, just because that you're in that state where you're more receptive. You're in that state where those barriers that we put up are kind of they're down. So
Mm.
we're receptive. Now, of course, even with hypnosis, you're not going to change something you really don't want to change, because you're always in control.
That's right.
But the issue is that it allows you to deeply root it just a bit more, to
Mm.
get past those barriers. Like, some people come to therapy and, they're resistant. They don't know why they're resistant. They don't
Mm.
know that it's even there, but it's there. And so it's
Right.
hard to get past that. It's hard to get past that initial barrier, or those defense coping methods that have been helping them to not have that problem take over their life, and help them to function on a daily basis, are up. And they come to session with them. They come to session, and we fight to bring down those barriers.
Mm.
And when you're in that meditative state, you're not worried about me doing what you perceive is something wrong
Ah, I see.
or
Right. Right.
attacking you. So you're more readily able to allow those issues to come to the front.
Mm-hmm.
You're more um, able to be, when I say vulnerable, I mean in a relaxed state, not vulnerable as someone's going to do
Right.
something to you because they're
That's
not.
so open, so that
You're
you're just really open with, much of your defenses down in a positive way. I'm saying that in a
right,
positive way,
right.
um, which I could see could be very helpful, which then leads me to a point that you said. You said it being a clinician, a therapist really helps because you're able to deal with whatever emotions and connections that come up, which then makes me think, but what about people who don't have that background, who do, someone goes to a sound bath or whatever, and a person doesn't have that background. I'm just curious if in the training, or whether it's training or experience, self experience, but you have training. So, but I'm just wondering, what then? How do you make sure that someone left that sound bath and they're okay if they don't have your background?
Well, and that is a difficult portion. I mean,
Mm.
some people um, go to a weekend training, or some people go pick up some bowls, or what have
Mm.
you. And I'm a sound therapist. I have no training, or I have no, there's really no regulation. And even some of the training programs, they're not dealing on. They're dealing with the scientific aspect of it, of how to put people in these states, but they're not dealing with how to deal with the ramifications of putting someone in this
Yeah.
state and up and out. So it's kind of frightening
Mm.
when you think about that aspect of it. Hopefully, these people that are going to the sound baths, they do have some type of support in their lives to help them to deal with issues that have arisen, or to understand that these emotions are normal. During my sound baths at the beginning, I explained that there may be an emotional reaction, there may be a physical reaction, and it may not happen right at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may not realize it right at that moment. It could be a week later, it could be 2 weeks later. So I make sure I'm available to help them to process. Because again, sometimes they leave, they're in a to completely relaxed state, and then next week it's like waterworks breaks out. Like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
something that I thought I had put to bed. It came up, and I need to talk about it.
Right.
That's when I really definitely do check in and make sure that everyone has my information and they are aware that they can contact me, because again, this is important. It's important to keep your journal. Your dreams may become more vivid. Again,
Mm.
things that may come up that you didn't know were there. So I think it's very important that people who are doing this are letting people know that what could happen. And I
Right.
think that's part of the issue, is that many people are just, again, just taking a couple of classes, or not even a couple of classes. They feel like, I am in the holistic field, so I should know how to do this. And
Mm-hmm.
they're not recognizing what could happen as a result of unearthing hurts, or unearthing traumas or issues that are there, or even,
Mm-hmm.
generational trauma. They're not recognizing that these things we hold,
Right.
and it
Right.
is important that we address them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a lot of people are not recognizing that, and it's kind of frightening. But I make sure that it is something we talk about prior to me beginning the sound bath, and at the end, I want to make sure I check in with everybody to see how they.
Right. So I'm glad that we're having this piece of discussion, because now people who listen, and I'm going to try to make sure to write in the description that, the little pearls of wisdom here that got dropped, the jewels about attending and making sure, and maybe checking someone's background, or if you're walking into one, to be aware of what goes on for you, because I think it's the same thing with meditation in and of itself, right?
Right.
A lot of people say I can't meditate, and I and I'll say sometimes, well, have you ever walked on the beach by yourself?
Yeah. Have you ever ridden a bike? Have you
Right,
read
right.
a story? Have
You
you ever
know,
sat
you
down to
can
write something? That's
exactly. So there are processes if you've been alone and you're just sitting, that's meditating. Meditating isn't always what people think, this thing. You know what I
clearing your
mean?
mind completely, and I'm totally void of everything. Not everybody reaches that, but when you're focused and you're singularly focused, you're working with one specific area. Again, like bike riding or walking, or sitting there
Right.
watching the birds or whatever it is, then that is a form of meditation.
Right. And then I always segue for folks and I say, if you start to concentrate on your breath and you allow pranayam, I don't, sometimes I just say breath to people who just like are not aware. And I go,
Right.
you then begin to somatically, you know, lower anxiety. I mean, there are all these things which, of course, you're aware of. And I go, that's yoga. And a lot of people don't know the connection between meditation and asana. They
I
really
don't
don't
think
know.
they do. I don't think they really recognize that that is a part of it, that they go hand in hand, and that is the purpose of the poses, and you holding this your breaths. Not holding them, but
Right,
counting your breaths.
right.
Yeah,
And
and
using
getting
and
in touch with your
using your
breath.
breath, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, how much of you are you still doing your physical asana? I thought we would talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, not 100%, but a little few things. Yes,
Yeah.
not as much as that was. Yeah.
Yeah, because our connection was really through all those years ago now. Um, through doing were we connected before that challenge though? It was a
No,
comedic
I think it
yoga
was the
challenge.
challenge. It was the comedic yoga challenge, which was amazing.
Yes. And so that's a good 6 years maybe
2000
now.
2015, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that connection, I thought if you could share a little bit about your asana practice and how you got into your asana practice and being who you are, all of who you are, emotionally, physically, all of that, what your experience as a black woman, what that was like.
Um, so prior to that, I heard about yoga here and there, but again, it wasn't something that I would do because I'm a person of size, and I thought, okay, I'm not the size of everyone else in the class. I
Hmm.
see people kind of meld themselves into pretzels and
Yeah.
what have you, and I was like, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So at the time I had started working out quite a bit with my trainer and what have you, and I was also on a path to heal and to sort of do anything that I could that was helpful for my body and my
Hmm.
mind,
Hmm.
and making that connection. So it happened to be I had just started, I think, really dealing with Instagram completely and posting some of my workouts, and somewhere along the way, how you have the algorithm,
Hmm.
these yoga things started popping up, and I was like, okay. And there were quite a few at the time, um, people of size doing yoga. So, I think it was big girl yoga. I forget all of the names, but it was quite a
Yeah.
few of them that I started following, and I was like, oh, so this is possible. I can't do this.
Hmm.
um, it's not just reserved to people who are really slender and flexible and all of these other things. So with that, I think I took up my first uh, what do you call it? Uh, Totally
Challenge.
blank here. Challenge. Thank
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah. That one.
I took up the yeah, that word. So I took up my first challenge, and it was it was kind of daunting again because um, I am not the size of everyone else. I did not reflect everyone else as far as skin color.
Mm.
So I was just out there. So it was kind of daunting initially, and then I found the support.
Hmm.
Um, with the challenges, I posted my pictures, and it was a very vulnerable state. I didn't know how people would receive it because typically people have not been more as receptive of people who are plus size or obese or what
That's
have you.
true. Hmm.
Yeah. So even going to the gyms or what have you, people have this sort of love hate relationship. I don't want to even say love hate, but this sort of abusive relationship. They want you to work out, but they're also going to torment you as you work out.
Isn't that wow? Boom.
Yeah. So they want you to be in the gym, but we're going to take pictures of you. We're going to take pictures of you and post it on the internet with memes
Oh
about you
yeah.
working out or how disgusting you look or all of these other things. So it's again a very vulnerable state to put yourself in as a black woman, as a fat woman. So
Hmm.
going out there and doing that, it was very frightening at first, but what I received from the community was nothing but support.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think I had one comment that was negative or what have you. And as my confidence built and I tried different things and I watched people modify, that was the biggest thing,
Hmm.
modification of people accepting that bigger bodies can do these things and
Right.
they should do these things. This is a practice that should be open to everyone. So
Everybody.
I think at that point the philosophy was shifting. I wasn't a part of the community prior to that, but I always outside looking in, it was like, okay, it's not the space for me. It's not the space that I'm welcome in.
Hmm.
And even when I did my first in-person class, I was like, oh, this is not good. I'm just gonna sit in the back here, where
Where
no
did
one
you
can.
do that? Where did you do that? In New York?
Mhm. In
Hmm.
New York. Yeah, in New York. One of the first places I went was, I believe, One Yoga for All was one of the places I went.
Hmm.
Um, and there were a couple of more. They Bikram yoga.
Hmm.
That was a big one too. Which in the heat you're so much more flexible, but that is dangerous.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
you go home like I overdid that.
Right.
Um, but I found that no, they weren't staring. No, they weren't pointing. No, they weren't saying nasty things. It was an open space. Open
Hmm.
space. Now I have been to some where everyone is thin, everyone is, they're coming from a place of ego. And
Hmm.
how do I look in my clothes and what poses I can do, get out of the way. Your body doesn't belong in here.
Hmm.
Um, I have walked into some spaces like that, but for the most part, I've been really well received.
Hmm.
Received.
And I think, there we have had even more of a shift. At least I'm going to say on the in the IG community. I mean, I can't really speak for specific places where there's much more awareness. There are many more yogis of size that are out there that are, and I do mean out there in all kinds of ways, including
Right.
Jessamine, who's
Right.
out there
Yes.
in all
Yes. All kinds of
gotta
ways.
love that woman. I mean, all kinds of ways.
Yeah, she
And
was one of the original ones I followed too.
yeah, who just like, hey, this is me, and there you go. And then as some of the controversial stuff started to happen, like with the yoga journal and those um, kind of publications, sort of the awareness about BIPOC and just the full range of diversity, I will say. There is now so much more awareness. And I think my take on it is, or at least even doing this, is an attempt to keep that awareness alive. I mean, so it's not just a flash in the pan because something happened in, with the cover of Jessamine on Yoga Journal or some of the other problems that they've had, or it's not just a flash in the pan about appropriation of yoga.
Right.
Um, uh, so that it becomes, I really need to look at this from a much wider range.
Hmm.
And what am I doing if you're a yoga teacher, or hell, you're a yoga student? Do you look around and go, why isn't this place diverse? And I don't just mean racially. You know,
Right.
why am I only seeing women? Why am I only seeing people between 25 and 30? Why am
Right.
I only seeing, why am I, what's happening here? is the question I think people need to ask: am I really embodying all of what yoga means if I stand by and I allow that to happen without voicing an opinion, asking a question, clarification, and maybe pushing a little for you to make change? You, whether it's a studio or what have you. Um, I think it's important. People have to be advocates for one another. If you're really within the yogic philosophy, or I mean, it's okay, cool for you if all you're doing is the physical piece and that's what you're about. Uh,
Right.
Then don't,
That's
to
practice.
me,
Yeah.
don't call yourself a yogi.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Right.
Um, I do think that there is growth that happens, you know, when you first start. It may be however you first start, if it's physical, but somewhere in there, if it's just been the physical piece, the asana, you gotta start thinking about some of the other stuff. It
Right.
has to move you. If it's not moving you along a continuum towards, maybe I should explore meditation more.
Right.
Maybe I should do that alternate nose breathing thing that they do. That might help
Right.
me
It
focus.
might help a little bit. Yes.
That's my hope. I mean, for me, I'll admit, doing the yoga stuff initially because I didn't know meditation was a part of yoga. I didn't know.
Right.
I mean, I'd
Right.
been doing meditation. Geez, I'm almost okay. How old am I? A really long time.
Let's not put a date on it.
It's been a really long time, but I didn't know. But I did start doing yoga because I was like, I need to be more flexible. I know that statement about um, you're as healthy as your spine is flexible. And the older you get, the
Right.
less flexible you become, or the potential for that. And I said, I really need to exercise. I really need to do something. I love my Zumba, but I need something else that's whatever. Um, and then somewhere along the line, it was a challenge, but it wasn't the one we were in. Oh my gosh. It was these two black yogis. They lived in North Carolina. I'll have to look. I did a challenge with them and they started talking about the yamas and the niyamas and the pranayamas and all that. And I'm like, oh, what's that? Meditation? Oh, you mean I've been doing yoga all this time without knowing that that's what I was doing? you know um so that's really one reason I really hope people sort of get to that point, understand that there's a continuum. I get that. But you should be more internally aware, maybe I'm trying to say, of
Right.
what possible shifts are happening for you.
I agree. I agree. I also, when you touched on what it was like, I think that the two mirror each other when
Hmm.
getting into the sound healing aspect of things and introducing sound therapy. The so much appropriation has gone on around the world
Mm.
of different people going to different places, different, harnessing or learning different things and kind of branding them as their own or trying to put a different spin on it.
Mm.
But what you find is there's a culture or a group that sort of feels that it doesn't want others to be in it. So
Mm.
initially that was what I was finding also in the sound world.
Oh, no
So not
kidding.
in the yoga world, but in the sound world, it was also a culture of you have to be part of the yoga community to branch off into that. So meaning you have to have that aesthetic of being a slender person,
No
not a
kidding.
color. Yes, it was hard to infiltrate or to get a foothold in. I mean, now the field is expanding, and just like yoga, just like that process is happening for BIPOC people, um, it's happening, and we're finding more people of color doing the actual practice. But it has been very difficult to get a foothold, especially when we were in the physical form um, of of not having people want me in their space, because again, I'm not um, what you would say is their aesthetic.
Right.
And most people go on what they see, and how that person makes them feel. So
Wow.
you also find, it was hard to get into space. It was hard to get, people to allow me, even though I have the training, I have the skills to allow me into the space. So it was also very difficult with that. I mean, with online, it's opened up a lot more, but they are very aesthetic. If you see people
Wow.
half dressed, very slender, of a certain race, playing using their bowls and what have you, people
That's
are
true.
they're drawn to that. They're not wanting to see a woman of color, in this full body, because in their mind, you're not living the holistic lifestyle.
Hmm. Oh, see, that just pushes every button I have.
Exactly. So that was kind of what the pushback I received, and it has been a lot of work and a lot of kind of educating and going in spaces that normally I wouldn't go into. And even in the trainings, oftentimes I'm the only person of color there.
Uh-huh. I
I,
believe that.
oftentimes I walk in a room and, I'm the only one there. And I'm like, okay, well, this is fine. But
Right.
the fact of the matter, it needs to pass into our culture as well.
Right. Well, have you ever had an experience of walking in one of those spaces and you had to set somebody straight?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I even had a drumming circle, and I actually had a Caucasian woman come up to me and tell me that, the Native American people don't want you doing this.
What?
So I
What?
was like, I
What?
think you've got the wrong group. I think you've got the group. As I am doing a sound bath, and we were talking about journeying with a primarily Hispanic group, like it was a bilingual group, a yoga practice that is bilingual, and so we're all sitting there looking at her like, wrong group, wrong group. It's like,
Wow.
you guys are appropriating, and so I thought it was just interesting how this person felt comfortable enough to come to this space where you don't know anything about the people here, and to
Right.
make that statement. So I thought it was very interesting. But I have had people make all kinds of statements, about size, um, about color, about, what education level, all types of things. It is almost frightening.
Wow,
And
Jessica.
if you haven't linked up with certain people, that means that you aren't as competent or what have you. Um, Please forgive the cat.
That's okay, but he moved pretty, or she moved pretty quick.
He's fast. He's fast. Um,
He was like,
fast. Um, but it's been very interesting. It's been very interesting. It's also been very difficult at times, and you wrestle with, I'm going to stop. I'm just not going to continue. But then you find the resolve that I need this to get into my community as well. And
that's
even for
right.
the community, it's been hard to get people interested because they don't know what it is. And
Hmm.
again, things are opening up more.
Hmm.
They're opening up more. But prior to that, I'm not coming to that. I'm not going to, you know why would I waste my time with that? I don't want to hear all of that noise, is what they call it. um so it's been really interesting. I mean, Instagram and Zoom and all of these things have made it more readily. People are kind of, in their space now. They're
Right.
open to trying different things. They're open to, we're in a pandemic. We're emotionally stressed. We need some other ways of dealing with this. So
Right.
now that they're open to more of the process again, but you also have this aesthetic that they want, and they're,
Right.
visually focused on, I'm not going to go to that person because they don't look really cute in their outfit. They're not, look really 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 sexy here with their bowls. And so
Hello.
I'm not gonna go to that. I don't know what she's gonna do. I don't really want to look at her.
And I'm sitting here going, okay, let's just talk percussion instruments in their whole realm. Let's just face it, those did not come from Europe.
No, no. The drum. Like, where has the drum? I mean, it's been on continents around the world, but
Hello. But let's just uh, well, yeah, we're going to have a whole conversation about this one because I'm sitting here going, I know about sound bath and sound therapy, not as much. I'm learning more from you, so that's very helpful. And I got my little always wanted a drum, still haven't always wanted one. There was a drumming circle, Fort Myers in Florida when we lived in the condo, and every Sunday they would be, I would look because we were in a high rise and I could hear them every Sunday. I would sit outside. I said, I need a drum, honey, so that I can go. I know. I never got a drum. I think there was I walked by and it was sort of diverse racially, but not hugely so. But I felt like I could go. This is my neighborhood. I go and I don't know what I'd be doing, but I always wanted to do it. And I'm saying this because in my mind, or actually, as I follow people, I realize that the only people I follow that are sound bath folks or sound therapists are women of color. So there's been somewhat of a shift. There must have been
oh
somewhere.
yeah,
You know what I'm
oh yeah,
saying?
oh yeah.
So I
We're not
see,
isolated anymore.
yeah. And so I see it and I go, oh, I've been saying this for years too. I want some crystal bowls. Fred will say to me, have you used I have a little pan drum thing. I said, I have. I haven't really done it consistently, but this is my year to, as I continue to grow, to really focus on other avenues, if you know what I'm trying to say. So it's sound, really shifting my meditation to another level.
Hmm.
This is my focus, and finally pulling together this book that I said I'm going to pull together. Um, yeah, I'm finally doing that book. Meditate. My meditation musings. I probably change them, but I always write after I meditate. Always write.
That's a beautiful practice.
So, and I have these pictures of sunsets. Like my son would say, "You're a serial sunset photographer, mom." He's a professional photographer. I said, "I know, because they're all different. What can I say?"
They really are. Really are. I'm the moon. I'm moon
And the
obsessed.
moon. See, yes, yes. See, oh, see, Spanish. Oh, see. Occasionally, I have a minor lapse. Um, but so I'm gonna. Have to find myself. I'm going to do much more research. But I am fascinated, but I don't follow one sound bath person that is the stereotype aesthetic. Not one. Now that says something because I'm all about diversity, but it also says something about where the access has become. Uh, you know, um, yeah. And I'm so I'm a person that the meditation has helped to mellow in a lot of ways. And when I'm in situations where I walk into a place like that, I always say to people, BIPOC folks, we're used to being the only one in a setting full of white folks
Yes, we
because we
really are.
have to function. We have to learn. If we don't know how to function, we don't get to live. We don't have a livelihood. We don't get to do. We don't get crap.
No,
So it's something we have to do. Um, they don't have to. It's a choice for them. And so
exactly.
when we show up in their space, whether we're a person of size or teeny eeny, we take up space. We
Right.
make you look. We tap all your emotions and all your shit, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And your discomfort is what you're dealing with that you attempt to make me feel like I'm wrong.
Right. There's a little level of accountability that goes on too.
Right,
As far as like what they're saying, how they're saying it, um, and what they're taking license with.
right, right. So I know we're like 45 minutes in. I know you got to go to work, huh?
Yeah.
I know. So I'm watching. So we're at our time, and I'm not going to let you be late because she got to early in the morning to do this. But it just says to me we have to do it again, and
Yes.
we should really. I would love to try and see if we could do something. I don't know how we might do it, but a live with a little piece about a small maybe sound bath, and people could ask questions. Invite
Yeah.
BIPOC
I would love
folks.
to do that.
You know,
I would love.
so we'll definitely do that. I really appreciate you taking your time. Yes, yes, yes.
For
And
having
I
me.
know I'm so excited so that we can and we'll continue connecting and do better than like 5, 3, however many years in
I
between
know, right?
before we chat face to
Oh my
face.
gosh. I think that would be awesome for us to have some Q&A and, some sound. I think that would be great. I would be
Yeah,
absolutely.
wonderful. So we're gonna plan that around
Mhm.
your schedule. Boy, it would be nice if it was in person, if this pandemic ever gets itself out of here.
No.
But well, I don't know.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. We'll try.
just so I could
Uh,
think there's a handle.
I know, right? So I appreciate it, and I will be in touch. Thanks so much for taking your time.
You for having me. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank
So
you.
amazing to connect this way.
I
Yeah.
know it is. Thank you.
All
You
right.
take care. Peace
Thank you.
and peace and blessings, sweetie.
Same to you.
All
Have
right.
a
Do
good new
take
year.
care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Thank
I think I'm still recording. I would like to remind people to please uh, follow Instagram, to subscribe to the channel, to like this video with a thumbs up, and please take a look at some of the past chats that I've had. I am attempting to, as I said, broaden this topic, have conversations with not only BIPOCs, but also with our allies. If you're interested in a chat, please let me know in the comments below. Take care. Thank you.